Hey, so in this video we'll be doing the Easter eggs and predictions for Season 4, Episode 19 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So beware spoilers if you're not caught up. So, this episode, they had, like, at the beginning of the episode, they had, like a honorable, acknowledgement to, Bill Paxton's death and all that kind of stuff, where it says memorial for, John Garrett, so it's nice that they're having that little send-off there, and not making it hold a big deal of it, just that it's there. But during the same scene, in the on Bakchi's the news crawl, you see that there's a documentary about Whitehall examining his close relationship with the Malik family, which I kind of find funny because in the real world, they weren't the best of, like, they weren't friends. They were enemies, but even though they were working in the same in Hydra, like they were working the same thing, they had totally different goals, totally different, and totally, like, they were totally opposite. So seeing them as close friends is kind of odd, but I can kind of see where it's coming from because Hydra took over years and years and years before Malik's Hydra could actually get a Hive back to rule the world. So I guess they merged Malik's Hydra with actual this Whitehall's Hydra. So and I don't know if it was just me, but when May and Daisy had like a fight scene, like shootout brawl with the Hydra agents, it reminded me of the Matrix kinda, and a lot of people are saying that Agents of Shields or Agents of Hydra is a ripoff uh, of the Matrix, and like it's just stupid and all that kind of stuff. I can see where they're coming from. Like there are elements of the Matrix in this Agents of Hydra arc, but it isn't a ripoff because it's like this whole arc is taken influences from the comic books of like the what ifs, and all that kind of stuff. So it's that part of like there are elements of the comic books into the real this what's called a storyline, but it has taken like an homage to the Matrix because it is a really well known movie and it's very well received. So, but it's not like they didn't outright rip off it because it's not like a new it's not a new concept. Virtual reality has been around for years, so like that's basically saying like every virtual world reality movie is a ripoff of Matrix, which it's really not because it's been around for years. But but it's they did this similar thing last season where they had like an homage to the Candyman and 21 Space Odyssey, and they mixed those two movies with uh, with the Hive storyline and like the embodiment of Hydra. So it's nice that they did that, and they're doing that same thing here with the Matrix. But let's just get back to the actual episode. Uh, the This whole episode was actually like a parallel to the Humpty Dumpty poem, where it, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, which the Triskelion is Madame Hydra's wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, which Madame Hydra had a really great fall, falling right out of the Triskelion, and then all the king's horses and all the king's men, which this episode title is actually referring to all the king's men, where it's actually all the Madame's men, where it's referring to Fitz, all Alistair and Anton, and that they couldn't put Humpty back together again, which at the end of this episode they found a way to put Madame Hydra back together again, but they have by the end of this episode they didn't put Madame Hydra back together again. So it's a neat little parallel to the poem there. But yeah, Coulson has like this interaction with Simmons, and his line is saying that the Patriot brought these people together, and his death might tear them apart. Which, like again, they have like this little opposite parallel from the real world to this world, where uh, Coulson Coulson brought all the Avengers together, and his death propelled or like joined brought uh, the Avengers together. So in this world, they might Patriots' death might kill them apart. So it's a nice little parallel there. But in the Mace's office in this world, Coulson is like looking at a file, and it's based on the original OA4 from 1945 when Peggy Carter rescued Jiaying, arrested Whitehall. So yeah, uh, but this conversation sparks up what is different about this world, where Coulson actually was afraid to join Shield, and a man came to visit him after high school, which he's referring to Fury, and I will talk about that later on. But uh, Coulson Coulson's talking about you shouldn't let your judge cloud your anger cloud your judgments, which Ward does have a lot of anger issues in this world and last in the original world, so neat little like connection there. Like he's not really different at all, but he's a lot nicer. But and he Coulson puts his right hand on what's called Ward's chest to stop him from leaving the office, and that's actually a nod to when Coulson did let his anger cloud his judgment, and he did kill Ward with robot hand. So nice little parallel there. And he, even in this world, he actually did learn his mistakes, even though he never did these mistakes in this world. So you can see that Coulson is breaking through a lot. Like he knows he should not let his anger cloud his judgment ever again. Which it's nice that these characters do learn their lessons, like unlike other shows. But yeah, cool. And then you see like what's different about Ward's life. He was still a product of abusive family. He still did go to military school. He did go to and he did still try to burn down his house, and still went to prison. The only difference here was that Victoria Hand, of all people, of all the agents that you could have picked her, she actually what's called visited Ward instead of Garrett, and brought him into Shield, trained him, and Ward became a nicer person that he did in the real world. And people are getting mad at this arc or whatever, saying it's a redemption arc. And he's a Nazi and all that kind of stuff. Ward in the framework is not a Nazi. He's not a Hydra agent at all. He's not. He was an undercover resistance shield agent, like in Hydra. So he's not a Nazi at all. But and it's not a redemption, because this Ward didn't need to be redeemed. He was a good person from pretty much the start of this whole entire arc. So he was not redeemed. Ward in the real world is still he was still a bad person. Like, he was a horrible person. And this Ward, he's a nice person. He didn't need to be redeemed. So it's not a redemption arc like a lot of people are saying it is, but that's just my opinion on that. Uh, and we don't really get a lot of May and Daisy in this episode. Like, we do, but we don't. Like, not a lot of references to anything. But uh, Daisy refers to her powers, like hangover from bees and stuff like that. And that's a reference to when Daisy did get her powers. She did compare them to bees and stuff like that. So, but she actually says we're already like fugitives or something like that, or traitors, but and what is a little bit of Grand Theft Auto, which I'm assuming that they're referring to the actual game Grand Theft Auto. So yeah, uh, and when Daisy actually does meet up with Ward, he has this conversation about um, that I hope you don't think I am the guy that you who it is in the real world and all that stuff. Like, he is a good person in this world, but he's actually asking if Daisy, once Daisy leaves, will my Sky come back? And I'll talk about that in my predictions, but uh, what's called Daisy said basically is saying that I never totally understood him until I met you. Basically saying that there was good in him. Like, he did have good into him, but his bad outweighed the good. Like, he did care about Kara, he did care about Garrett, he did care about his brother Thomas, he did care about Daisy, but in different ways that aren't necessarily good, like actually good aspects of caring about someone. But yeah, and uh, they haven't shied away from the political aspects of this season or this actual world. I mean, and what's called during Coulson's speech, he's basically saying that uh, all the facts that Hydra's been spewing on the news is talking about alternate facts, and that's a reference to Kellyanne Conway, people that work for Donald Trump. But another reference that came up earlier, where you see Bakshi is harassing a female coworker, talking about "I'll take you furniture shopping," which that's a reference to the leaked video of Donald Trump talking about Nancy O'Dell, uh, like the videotape that was released a while ago. So yeah, that's pretty far back. But yeah, and they actually was called Coulson actually talks about uh, you could be a part of something bigger, and that's actually a line from Coulson's Fury's one man speech, that it could be a part of something bigger. So you could actually tell that uh, Fury did try to bring Coulson to Shield, and he did deny that right or job. But yeah, for predictions, I'm assuming Daisy will once they leave, they will probably leave the framework on, because it feels like it is an alternate parallel universe where they actually do have their thoughts and feelings. It's not just a program, so they might just leave it on and let people live their life once Hydra's gone. And you'll probably see, like, at the end of the season, have Ward have a reunited with his Sky, and let it have like a send off that uh, the Skyward fans would be happy about it. Maybe it probably wouldn't, uh, but yeah. And I'm assuming the people that are going to help with the Resistance is Bobby and Hunter. They I can't think of anyone else that would pop up and help with the Resistance. So yeah, and uh, I I want Hope back on in the real world, but it's they're using the Darkhold, so I don't want her to be corrupt. So I don't think that's gonna be a great idea to bring her back anymore. So yeah, comment down below if I missed any Easter eggs or references, and for predictions later on in the season. But I honestly hope they get Hope back, but at this point I don't think it's gonna happen. So comment down below. See ya.